ended up just spending all my time making Warhammer videos because I didn't know what else to do with my life.
'Cause
I
that's
said
not
I have to
one
keep
job.
busy somehow, so I'm gonna make a video every day for like a whole year. And it turns out when you do that, it does the algorithm appreciates it.
Really amazing guest today that I'm very surprised he's even taking the time out of his busy day to talk to me, of all people. So Trevor is joining us from Tactical Tortoise. I assume folks that are tuning in will at least have heard of Trevor and the many things you have done. But kind of actually, I'm gonna let you do the quick 1-2 punch and kind of like tell the electronic screen what you're up to these days and like how your kind of like daily work in gaming is. Like what should we know about you at like a really high level, if that makes sense?
Sure. So I'm a full-time content creator in the tabletop gaming space, mostly a focus on miniature games and even narrower focus on Warhammer 40,000 and especially competitive play. I do branch out a little bit, but that is where most of my time goes. I make a lot of content tutorializing the game, breaking down some sort of high-level concepts, and talking about a lot of the sort of the math and theory behind a lot of the game's mechanics.
Cool. Did you go like I asked my last guest, I was like, did you go to acting school or like what put you in front of a camera? You know, like were you just like, because I find myself, I always wanted to be the person behind the curtain making the decisions, but I've kind of come to this conclusion that like I just kind of enjoy being out in front of the audience a little bit. So for you, like how did that come about that you would just like you press the go button and just like talk to a lot of people?
I think it's just rampant narcissism, probably. But I think, I don't know, the early sort of 2000s was when I was, kind of my formative years. And there was I imagine what is a pretty big cultural shift towards content creation and kind of like almost like serializing your entire life. And so all day, every day for me, it was like watching people play games and discuss their experiences on YouTube. And things were really rusty back then. But it wasn't really, I guess, that much of a conscious decision as much as it was kind of what I expected everyone to do, which is basically how things have transitioned over. So I didn't actually start the channel or playing games with the intention of creating content full time. I just created content because I liked it, and it ended up kind of sort of spiraling out from there.
Did you have like a normal people job before this? Like, did you work at some giant financial firm?
I did not know. No, I worked at a series of very small companies. Actually, my background is in biomedicine, and worked at several sort of medical engineering companies before that. And then COVID happened, and they all shut down. So I was a little listless, and ended up just spending all my time making Warhammer videos because I didn't know what else to do with my life. I said I have to keep busy somehow, so I'm gonna make a video every day for like a whole year. And it turns out when you do that, it does the algorithm appreciates it.
That's so interesting. Okay, so that's that's really interesting. I didn't know that you did the like, because I've had a friend a long time ago that he did like the like once a day Instagram because he was like, I need to learn this thing. Even I don't even think he had like liked Instagram,
right?
But he was like, I'm just gonna do the thing. And so were you able to like complete like mostly 365 days in a row on that?
Yeah, I think I mostly did. I think I just uploaded like weekdays, so I uploaded like 4 to 5 videos a week typically.
Yeah.
Most of which were just trash, just unwatchable garbage. Do not scroll back down my video feed for too far.
That's where I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I gotta go see these.
Yeah, and if you look far enough back at my channel, it's actually a channel I've had since I was a kid. So there's some real old hokey stuff in there. If you wanna watch little baby Trevy. You want to play toy soldiers with his friends. It's on there. But I was just doing unit breakdowns and tactics videos and news videos and stuff like that, just to sort of like, keep it going. And yeah, it ended up being fairly doable, I guess.
Yeah. So, okay. You like, it's COVID's hitting, the whole world's falling apart. You're like, your job things are like going out the door. They're not working, and you're starting to make like videos. Did you like, was there like I don't know if you ever watched Peter McKinnon, but he was like, I made 55 cents on a video one time, and I was like, that's what I'm just going to figure this out. Like that is the thing. Did you have like a moment where you were like, you had like, I'm guessing like YouTube AdSense or Twitch whatever AdSense come in, and you were like, okay, I think that if I just keep doing this at this pace, like stuff's gonna kind of work?
So I don't know how to do math.
Yeah.
So that sort of calculus has never really been part of it, which is a disaster as an adult.
Yeah.
Stay in school, kids. But I was monetized previously. I used to make content for War Machine and Hordes back in the day. I was a very competitive War Machine and Hordes player, and I think I had like 2,000 subscribers, and I was monetized. I made a little bit of money. It wasn't like good money, but it did. It helped, I guess. I was in college, and it definitely smoothed things over. But I think at some point I hadn't uploaded in years, and the AdSense requirements had changed. I think there's a baseline of watch time that you have to have. You have to upkeep in order for the YouTube partnership to continue, which I had not been doing because I had never uploaded video. So I was not monetized at the time, but the cutter was when the Astartes animation came out, I think. Which if you're familiar with 40K, you've almost certainly seen it. It exploded on YouTube, and I made a video breaking down like some cool stuff that I noticed and that was in the background of the video because it was very deep. There were like some cool things in the background, some little Easter eggs and stuff that I wanted to talk about. And so I made a little like short to 10 or 15 minute video like that, and it kind of like was swept along, I guess, by the tide. And so that one hit like 400,000 views or something, and that got me remonetized. And I was like, oh, okay, well that worked. Yeah. Maybe we can try that again. But I'm I guess like sort of algorithmically inept, and so I am not very good at trend chasing. Basically, a lot of the theme of the channel is that I talk about stuff that I want to talk about rather than trying to chase the views, to my own detriment probably. But it definitely keeps my interest in the channel, and through the sort of the waves and troughs of playing any miniature game, but especially Warhammer, which tends to come and go pretty precipitously. Definitely has sort of kept my interest in it, which has been really good. We're gonna have a visitor here momentarily.
Oh, no worries. There we go. Flash through the screen. Ghost.
Oh, come here, you.
Hello.
There you are.
Cute one.
She's just a little baby. She can't be by herself for too long.
We were like drumming up like silly ideas this weekend, and we were talking about how it would be like we'd open up a cat cafe that just has black cats, and it would be in Salem, and like. We'd have like rescue cats.
Cafe.
They're all black.
Yeah.
So we'd have to like chase down every black cat in the city. It'd be fun. And then it was like there was a soup component to it too. That was kind of fun. Anyway, I'm on a different track now. So were you have you like, now that you're an expert, quote unquote,
give me a lot of credit over here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you have moments where you're like chasing after that 400,000 video, like, or do you like still get that kind of like? I haven't looked at like scanned over your, because I have like a theory that like the viral moments they can be like mathematically forced, but I just don't think they're as fun that way.
Yeah, and also I think like there certainly are ways to to sort of quote unquote go viral, and the big huge channels, right? The Mr. Beasts of the world are experts at it. But I think generally speaking, for if you are not like specifically designing content to be picked up by the algorithm, then it is extremely random. And I think there is a myth within in the community at large where you can, I'm trying to make my channel go viral, and you can't really force it unless you're doing very specific things. Which if you have a particular brand of content, usually won't align very well. So it's pretty. I would say it's pretty random. That said, I can at this point pretty concretely pinpoint how well a video is going to do just based on its subject material. And
interesting.
You're
like crafting the thumbnail and you're thinking like, this is gonna work. Like this is gonna get like 40,000 views.
Yeah, and also like I can I'll record a video or I'll script it out and I'll be like, this one's not gonna do so hot, but that's okay because like I like it or it's important to talk about or something like that.
Yeah.
Occasionally videos will surprise me and do much better than I expected, but most of the time it's pretty obvious which ones are gonna do good. Anytime there's drama in the community, that's the big one. Everybody loves that stuff. Those ones always explode.
Yeah, I forget. I like tuned into one of your drama videos like, I don't know, like 6 months ago. I was just like, oh, well, what's everyone up to these days? And I was just laughing. I was like, this seems like very zeitgeist.
Yeah, it is funny because like those videos I think they're good on a couple levels. First of all, obviously they draw a lot of attention, but they also, if I try to do my best to do an appropriate level of research when we talk about stuff, and then not just sort of like repeat what's being said online. And there's a lot of misinformation that goes around anytime something dramatic happens. Anytime there's a cheating allegation or something like that, the game of telephone tends to blow things out of proportion.
Yeah,
quite a bit. So I think it is important also for the community to be informed about exactly like actually what happened, but also those videos, because they tend to do well, they do unfortunately I think also sort of put a big spotlight on those particular situations for people who are on the outside looking in. So I can make for every video about somebody cheating, I have almost probably literally 100 videos about other stuff.
Yeah,
and, but obviously those ones aren't
then
quite as dramatic. So
you show up to the tournament or something, and they're like, "Oh, you did that video about the controversy."
Right.
People like, they pin a concept with you when in fact you've been doing these like creative pursuits and things like that are outside of the main.
Well, it's also sort of on a community level too, right? If the only time that you get exposed to like a competitive event or any sort of organized play event, any community event that it's sort of kind of from a negative perspective, then I think that weighs more heavily in your perception than if you were to actually be exposed to it. So I see a lot of comments and people being like, "Oh, I would never play competitive miniature games. They sound like such a nightmare." You're like, well, if you look at we have 1,000 videos about all the cool things that happen, all the cool things you can do in competitive play. Yeah, and then one video about one guy.
Yeah,
that's the one you watched. So.
Everybody, there was I mean, like right as you're saying this, I'm like, I remember there was a controversy about the Vanguard Tactics guy. Like he was playing somebody and that was trouble. And it's like, why do we're so drawn moth to the fire.
Yeah, it's just human nature.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So on that note, I can't imagine that you're only, and actually now that I think about this, I know the answer to this, but you have other things that are not AdSense. Like you're not relying on 40,000 views to come through the door and YouTube to pay you money. Like that is not your only, be all end all, right? I would imagine you have like brand deals, or are you like manufacturing like products in your basement? Like what other things make your, like, what's your sanity check to where you can like pay your bills and like be happy?
Yeah, so I don't do merch, probably inadvisably, but I did it like back in the day and it wasn't very successful. So at some point I'll probably get back in that. But
merch is hard.
Yeah, I don't do merch right now. I do. I would say AdSense is probably the majority of my income, kind of proportionally, but the aggregate rest of kind of income streams I think outperform it. It's the single biggest number, I guess. But I
All
also have a
on
Patreon.
YouTube, or is it? Do you have like another platform you're on at all? Like,
Uh,
Twitch? Are you on Twitch at
yeah,
all?
so I do stream on Twitch. Probably too much. I stream most weekdays, Warhammer 40K content. Usually either competitive play or commentary. And that I also have a second YouTube channel where my live stream VODs go. So there's a ton of recorded 40K games over there. That's Tactical Tortoise TV, by the way. Go check it out.
Yeah,
And,
like let's pause here. Let's shout out all of the chat. No, we'll do that at the end.
Every channel.
So skip the end. Subscribe.
So there's YouTube and Twitch. I also have a Patreon, and then I also do get some sponsorships on events. The thing that I've been doing this year, which is brand new, and has been a huge time and money investment, but we're seeing where it goes. I was asked last year, and I did a couple of live streams at local events, so take all my cameras over and live stream events just for the hell of it, for the most part. I was asked last year by a couple of events to come down in sort of more of a professional capacity. And that's expanded. I now live stream between 1 and 2 sort of large competitive events a month within the continental U.S. typically. I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning to go do one in New York. I have another one scheduled down in Virginia at the end of the month, and I have 2 more in November. So that's busy. But I also have sponsorships in those live streams. The community is very generous, which is good, which helps sort of foot the bills for those as well. And I usually get support for my travel expenses from those events too.
Okay.
So that's been a lot of time investment this year. has been traveling to those live stream events.
So, okay, a million questions, but let me break down a couple of my annoying, obnoxious questions. So, just like focusing in on this like live stream idea. So you gather up all your stuff, and you take a plane ride over. You set it all up. And
we driving.
Oh, you're driving. Yeah, yeah. It costs way too much to.
It's I think at this point the equipment I bring over probably costs about $8,000, and the amount that I want to put that in a plane cargo compartment is less than 0.
It's less than $8,000. Of interest.
Yeah. So
okay,
I'll take my little car over there.
You're driving, and okay. So you drive down to these events. Folks pay you. So Wicked Dicey, we've paid you before for these. Probably not enough. We'd probably pay you more. Corey's gonna like watch this back and be like, "Oh, God.
So what are you doing? You're the worst business partner ever."
I know, right? But I'm not the money man. He's the money man. But yeah. So you get paid for these set amount of times, like Saturday, Sunday. Probably usually it's like a weekend thing. Unless it's like I would imagine like Nova, you could stream like during different days of the week. Do you have like a couple questions there? Like, do you have? You said you were working on it like this whole year. Do you have like a website that like you send people to, or do you just like you have the connections? So you're just like, hey, like, isn't Mike Brandt? He's like a guy at Nova, right? Like you're like, hey, like I'm the guy that streams 40K. Like, talk to me or something like that. Like, how do you like land those? Because I feel like there's a lot of streamers out there, but like nobody knows what they're doing on account of like they're just kind of like usually
can confirm.
Yeah, usually it's like they show up and like I'm sure their buddy gives them $100 to go buy like Jersey mics or something, and like that's it. Like that's the contract. And so like to do this as like a stream of income that's like reliable. Have you like built an infrastructure around it other than your equipment? Like,
actually, I guess I've been kind of blessed in that because before live streaming more consistently, like I had an existing platform because I already had a YouTube channel. So most of the time, now that I'm live streaming consistently, events will reach out to me. I actually don't really like promote myself proactively very much at all. So yeah, basically every event that I schedule, I've been requested to attend by the organizers. Yeah, I'm not like pushing myself onto other people. Yeah, I want to provide it as a service. I think there's like a level of clout to having your event live streamed, right? Having a live coverage there. It's also, there's a little bit of assistance as well in because you're usually covering top tables. Like you have eyes on the top table, which can alleviate your judge team. But also it's it's a big promotional thing for events too. So I want to do it to not only assist the community to get more cool games of 40K, especially like high tier competitive 40K covered, but also to assist these tournament organizers. So in that end, I don't know if I'm super comfortable like trying to sell myself, I guess, because I want to do it as something for an organizer.
For the tournament organizers that has $1 million and is watching this, hire.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I understand it's tournament organization is a thankless job, that costs more money than you make for sure. So I don't want to be like on everyone's doorstep soliciting myself, I think, and fortunately I am in a position where I don't have to right now, which has been great.
Okay, so then question number 3 on the million question. No, I'm just kidding. Have you ever had any like terrifyingly bad experiences without naming any cons or anything? I don't. This isn't like a name shaming thing. I'm more interested in the fact of like, have you like gone to an event and like it just totally went haywire and like your live streaming didn't work, the hotel internet cut off, something was promised that wasn't given. Like again, I guess trying to like tiptoe. I really am not trying to like name shame here. More interested in like the.
There's definitely technical stuff that happens. Like internet is always just like a bit of a butt clench, I guess.
Yeah.
And especially because I have like 5G uplinks and stuff. So like worst case scenario, I can usually go through the cell network, but sometimes you're just in anywhere, right? Yeah. So sometimes you just don't have coverage. Yeah. And you have to be like, hey man, I can't.
I can't do that.
I think
we brought you over to the retreats before, and I imagine that's hard. Like,
those aren't usually too bad. Like, there's some venues that definitely aren't set up to provide sort of internet infrastructure. Yeah. And sometimes you go to larger conventions. We had a little bit of problems when we streamed a DreamHack in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Where it was a DreamHack esports event, which you sort of consider entirely like a network-based entertainment.
That is what they should be good at.
and so we go up. We should, and I'm talking to National Tip-Talk League, who is organizing the event, and I'm like, okay, so do we have like a internet hard link? And they're like, no, it costs us $5,000 for the convention center to hook us up. So we were working off a 5G uplink going through a convention center ceiling, which was not good. Which was too bad because everyone involved put like a ton of energy into that event and making it as cool as possible. And it was too bad just because we had choppy internet the whole time. I think it ended up, if you watch the videos back, I think it ends up holding up pretty well. The problem is at the time there was a lot of buffering for other people because it took a long time for the stream to get into the network, which is unfortunate.
There's like, you have to pay there's some state, I think it's Jersey or Pennsylvania, like you have to pay, if you're an event organizer, you put all the people into the room and you have to pay the union to show up and like connect your hardwire in to like your thing.
They have to
pay them hourly, and it's a lot of money. It's not a small amount of money. Right. I think it ends up being like $5,000 for the whole event, or it might even be more than that. And we've actually had people like come to us and be like, I cannot go to that event, so I'll instead go to your event because like we can actually do something over here.
Yeah. So like smaller hotel venues tend to be way easier to work with when it comes to internet stuff. Large convention centers are a nightmare. And then you also get, if you're working with like very small, like much smaller venues like game stores and stuff, those also usually just bring some challenges just because of like your setup time and stuff like that. Usually you have to. It takes me, I think, to set up my rig like to a satisfactory manner. It takes me about probably 3 or 4 hours, and getting somebody in at like 6 a.m. to open the door for you to set up your live streams before an event is usually a challenge. So there's every style of venue has its own quirks, which is always funny. The weirdest one that I experienced, I think, was at a convention center. we had the internet. We couldn't find out how it was working day one, and I was there with War Games Live. That's Joe, who does also incredibly high production value Warhammer 40K streams. We were both there covering this one event, and we were having trouble with the internet on the first day, and we realized that it was because the convention center had a firewall on their Wi-Fi that blocked like so many of the support URLs that you like usually you use for streaming. So I had streamed
this weekend went through that exact same fiasco with Rob the Honest Wargamer.
Yeah.
He showed up and their firewall didn't block anything, but the wireless Osmo 2 that we had, like gimbal.
Oh
like
my God.
that was the thing it decided was like off limits. It was like I guess I don't know. Like it was just it was funny. So I totally
this one
relate.
was it blocked I think YouTube Live, like the YouTube Live Studio entirely.
Yeah.
You just couldn't link the stream to YouTube. And it also, if I remember correctly, blocked like Stream Elements, which is like a lot of overlays and like chat bots and like a lot of this sort of support infrastructure. It was also blocked. And so we got them to fix it for day 2, and it was a little janky, but we made it work. And it actually day 2 went very well, which is good.
Yeah.
But the organizer was the convention center sort of representative was very apologetic. He's like, we've never had. It was an agricultural center actually, which is very interesting. So they did a lot of like, this is a place where you do like tractor and boat shows, you know. And they're like, we've never done anything like this. We've never had live streamers at an event before, so this is totally
I feel
unprepared.
like gamers are always a different breed. Like,
Right.
like we walk in, when we were in the West End last year, like there was a lot of things that went wrong with their staffing, not our staffing.
Yeah.
But I do think like they look at us and they're like, what are these people? In fact, one venue has called me back like over and over every year because they think we're a video gamer. Like they're like, you guys are like the video game people, so you must make like $1,000 million, and like you please come back. And we're like, we don't play video games. We're like into mini wargaming.
Tabletop gaming is not that big an industry, we swear.
Yeah. So
we just make it look real good.
Yeah.
It is definitely interesting, and it's interesting because it's something I think that we probably take for granted, kind of within our own circles, and even if you were to compare a video game convention to a miniature game convention, they probably have much the same requirements. Right? In video games, you probably have more electrical and internet requirements than you do for miniature games, but largely, if you have the same kind of setup, you'll probably be fine either way. But if you're entirely outside that gaming space, it's like totally not in your realm of thinking. And I think it was flabbergasting to me that they had their setup like that at this convention center. But I can understand that as a center that does not run events like this at all. Yeah, it would just not be something that they thought about. But yeah, we had a conversation. I was like, it seems very counterproductive if you're hosting vendors at your convention center, and to have a firewall that can prevent them from accessing, even if they have payment processors and inventory systems, that your firewall can prevent them from accessing those. That's insane. That's an insane thing to do.
There's some corporate tech guy, IT guy that just did buy the book. Everything
you
was
hit
buy
the button,
book, and then
no games, no porn.
Exactly.
Click go.
Anything fun.
Right.
Like, no.
You don't need games or porn if you're selling tractors. So
yeah, and he also like went to sleep on Friday and was like, "It's my weekend. I'm not gonna talk to anybody." And he's the one guy that can fix your damn problem.
It definitely they made a big show of like having to call corporate and like having to call their headquarters. Which was very funny to get the restrictions alleviated kind of on the admin side. But it did work out. The stream ended up going well. The day one stream was not as good, but
so you've got your YouTube setup and you've got your, I would call it like the content side of things, right? So you're like constantly like putting videos out on the internet. You've got your streaming and things like that. Is there any other like thing that like pays the bills / makes you like a proper business? Like, is there something out there that like is reliable, I guess, so to speak? Like, do you have like, are there sponsors, you can name them or you don't have to name them, but do you have like is mythical gaming giving you a stream of income because you every once in a while plug their product or something like that?
No, I don't have anything like that. I don't have like brand sponsorships like that, I guess.
Is that
I
something you'd ever be interested in? Like, or
I think so. One thing I don't do as just kind of I had some bad experiences with it sort of early on in the process. I don't do like affiliate marketing or affiliate links and stuff like that. And I think that's for that longer term stuff. That's what a lot of places want to do. If they want to give me an affiliate link, like I won't turn it down. But also,
yeah,
you should pay me money.
yeah,
yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to be beholden to someone else's sales channel, I think.
makes sense. I think you did like one video on like terrain at one point. Was that just like a buddy of yours that like had like?
Yeah, so I'll do sort of sponsored integrations and bespoke videos for brands.
Yeah.
So I think what you're probably referring to is Snot Goblin Gaming.
Yeah.
I should actually have another video for them coming up in a week or so. But yeah, those are done almost entirely on a per video basis. So, yeah, I have a whole rate card. If you're interested, I could send it to you.
Yeah. So every business listening, please send us an email.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll
send an
connect
email.
you.
Trevy at tactical-tortoise.com.
Yeah.
And I'll send you my rate card. Yeah, so that's all. That's basically entirely done on a per video basis. There are a couple of places I'm trying to do like sort of longer term stuff, and that's mostly for stream sponsorships. But yeah, I don't have anything like super concrete.
Are you like? This is a naive question, so bear with me. But when I was first doing the like,
I'm going to give you a naive answer. So
good.
warned.
When I was like knocking down the doors of the internet, because for anybody who doesn't know, who's just tuning in, like I help run Wicked Dicey events, and so we host these very large, getting larger conventions. And I was like, I'm going to scan the entire internet for YouTube personalities. I'm going to try to connect with them and just see what's out there. And I feel like your particular niche of like 40K content exclusively, like I feel like you're kind of you seem to be at the top of that. There's like another guy like Scorpion something or other that
Striking
Scorpion seemed to be doing stuff. There was like maybe two others. I guess there didn't seem to be anybody in your particular vertical. Am I wrong on that?
I don't think that's entirely fair. I don't think I'm at the top end of competitive 40K content creators, for sure. There's a lot of channels that are like sort of more general that kind of stray into competitive play. You can look at channels like sort of Tabletop Tactics, which does sort of do a lot of competitive play, but also a lot of like sort of narrative driven and very, very showy like battle reports and stuff like that. But there are a lot of channels that are very similar to my content. Like Osbax Tactics, Art of War, 40K, are kind of two big other ones, Vanguard Tactics that you mentioned earlier. I would say all of those and myself are kind of existing sort of cooperatively in the same space.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Keep going.
Well, I was just going to say, I think one interesting thing, and a good thing about the community, I think, too, is that because it's such a sort of a cooperative experience that a lot of these, most of these channels, I would say, kind of exist in concert, which is cool. You know, like the Team Art of War people, I end up just seeing all the time at conventions and live streaming them. So they're creating content on one hand, and then I can showcase their play style on my channel, and then they can sort of refer that back to their channel and vice versa. So it ends up sort of working very cooperatively.
Would you call that a community?
Almost. Yeah, it's almost like that.
Do you like
crazy how that works?
Do you ever call them up and you're like, hey, how are your videos doing? Like, tell me what works for you, or like a trade. Like, I was talking to somebody who actually has a giant following. I can't really say their name, but they basically were explaining how they're in kind of a Discord chat with other people who get 70,000 views per video, and like that's just like a chat of 10 people that all do the same thing, kind of that's not even like in the 40K space or anything. But is that something like, do y'all collaborate on that, or is it just kind of a like, we run into each other at the convention and like grab a beer on occasion kind of moment?
So yeah, I am in a community of 40K content creators. I don't know how like behind the scenes that I want to dive in, but yeah, there's a Discord that I'm in with probably about I'd say 40 or 50 like content creators in the general Warhammer 40K space, so whether that's gaming content or lore content or creative content. And everyone sort of collabs. We put together like sort of collaborative videos. I've done a couple of those where I do video segments for other channels. We just participate in each other's like live events and things like that. And then we also we sort of talk about like kind of the business end of things. We had an interesting little anecdote recently where a extremely scammy sponsorship sort of made the rounds for a bunch of people. They all got this email from what was almost very clearly a scam.
Yeah.
Which was very funny to look at.
That's so funny. And then I guess like again, it sounds like I'm touching on a secret society here, but
I don't know if it is secret.
Basically,
like, it's not my Discord channel, so
everyone banded up and was like, "This guy is scummy." Like, warning, don't work with, like basically. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, do you at all have days where like, I feel like if we're in like our what I call corporate people jobs, like you show up to the office or like you log into your little Zoom thing and like you have people to bounce ideas off of all the time, and I'm newly heading into that space, and so I'm wondering, well, hell, like, is there anybody else that's still in this space with me? And like, I don't know if that's like I'm starting to find those people, and I'm wondering, I guess. Is there like a little in your space in particular? Is there like it seems like there's like a business community that is like shields itself, like that is like, hey, we're gonna support each other like through the good and the bad, and like, work together when it matters, and so I guess the answer is yes. The short answer, the spoiler alert, is yes. But I was just curious if that existed, basically.
Yeah, like if you mess with us, like we'll sort of cold shoulder you. Is that what you're asking?
Tear you apart.
I think that would certainly happen. I think it would make the rounds if you don't pay your invoices.
But and I guess to further that, when you wake up in the morning, like, and you start, you're like, I'm gonna stream about XYZ today. Are you pretty much like you have to pretty much self motivate to do that, right? Like you have to press play on your thing to do it every day. It's not somebody else telling you to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless I have unless I have an agreement to have a video out, like a deadline on a video, then it's entirely self motivated, which is both a blessing and a curse. First of all, if I whatever, I'm sick or not feeling it or unmotivated or I want to play Space Marine 2, then that can just happen. It's not the end of the world. But obviously, then on the flip side, kind of the onus is entirely on yourself too. So, one thing that I struggle with a little bit, which I don't know, it's probably not a real problem, and I think I might just be stupid. But like sometimes I do run into sort of like a writer's block, like what should I talk about today? And I'll get in my own head about video topics and whether or not they're useful or whatever. And I think that's maybe just an utter lack of creativity, but it is.
No, I mean,
there's a danger of being entirely self-employed.
I have already experienced that, and I'm like a month in. I'm like, there's days where I'm just like, I did my first interview for this just earlier today, and the lead up to it, like I was equally as excited as I was like, this is not going to do anything. Like there's no reason for me to do this. Like I kind of that same writer's block idea of like, but then I just kept telling myself, I was like, just do like, oh God, I feel like Nike all of a sudden, but like, you just make it work, do the thing, and then look back at it and be like, cool, you've created something. Like something I really like value, especially when I was in my normal people job. I would look at like content creators and I would be like, at the end of the day, they're creating like a product, even if it's just like a film or like a 2-minute YouTube or something like that. Like I was really envious of that. I was just like, oh my gosh, like that, like if I could just walk away from today having like created something like somewhat artistic, like that just feels good. But then what comes with that is that like vacuous space before and after where you're like, okay, what's next? Or like, how, like, why did I do that?
You hit the nail on the head right there. And I think that, at least speaking personally, and I don't know if this is the same for other content creators or other hobbyists in general, but one thing that really got me I think, hooked on the hobby of miniature gaming was the creative side. I'm like a huge proponent of sort of like player agency in games, and the fact that part of the central conceit of miniature gaming, here comes a cameo again. There she is. What's up, kitty cat? Part of the sort of the USP of miniature games is that everything you do is your own creation, right? You build your army list, you build the miniatures in it, you paint them, you choose the color scheme, you can convert them if you want, and then on the tabletop you have total control over where they move, right? It's not like a hex or a grid based game. Everything's true measurement, so you have like literally infinite variance in where your models can be placed and how they can maneuver. That's amazing to me, and one thing that really caught me and kind of entrapped me in the Venus flytrap of this gaming space was painting miniatures and having like a small packet of creative energy that you input into this one thing, and then you come out in the end with a result that is sort of greater than the sum of the layers of paint you put into it. So I'd spend a couple hours, and I would go through this process and transform a gray piece of plastic into something that looked really cool. And at the end of that, because it's not a super long and laborious process, we're not making sort of documentary films or anything over here. That was like, you could see this progression of your the how cool your army looked, and all these tiny projects that you could complete, and that absolutely got me kind of locked in on content creation as well, because it's basically the same process. You're just using a different medium. You're taking some concept or a script or a video topic, and then you're inputting that creative your opinions and your knowledge, and then your creative and artistic expression, and then you're creating a little bit of a little packet of something that looks really cool. And I think this is a very common sort of trend of evolution for a lot of content creators. But as I do it more, I want to get more sort of involved artistically and do longer videos and more impressive videos and do more editing on my videos.
It seems like at this point, the creative process of the videos also translates to that. Is also kind of, I think, what you're already hinting at, but I'm kind of like stating the obvious, where like, yes, you could create like a gray model into something that's really beautiful, but then you can also like, I'm trying to apply this to my start of journey here, which is like, you can create like a video that's, there's unlimited variables on a video too, or there's unlimited videos on like a hot take opinion on the internet, like, and that the art of that is really interesting as well. And I just find that really fascinating, and I'm trying to like apply that as I even like with our conventions and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that that there's like a satisfaction at the end of a creative project that is identical between whether it's painting a miniature or creating, whether you're doing sculpting clay pottery or painting sort of traditional paints or creating videos. I think that all of those have this like similar, I don't know, this little like euphoria at the end where you look at this thing and you're like, it's all compressed, it's all compacted, and it all looks good, and you're like, yeah, I did that, and it's very fun.
No, I've started to love this process. Having grown up on playing chess and being stuck into the hexadecimal and the things there. Cool. All right, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I feel like there's a lot more to like pull out of this, and so I'm just gonna like bug you down the line someday. We're gonna jump back on the show, but just as like a closing kind of thing, did you actually, first of all, like, what is there anything you want to like shout out that's like upcoming, like super soon, that you just like want the 1,000 million viewers that are going to watch this next week, which is not accurate, but is there any kind of like event you want to shout out, or
just 1 million viewers is what you're saying?
Yeah, just okay. 1 million.
Fair enough. Well, that's very impressive. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm humbled to be viewed by 1 million people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Inky wants to put herself forward, I think, for a shout out here.
For a shout out. The most important shout out is really what that comes down to.
Yeah, so the big project I've been working on right now, which is actually sort of consuming a lot of my non-streaming time, is I have a new gaming channel. It's called Tactical Tyrannosaurus.
Okay.
And right now, and for the foreseeable future, it will focus on Warhammer themed video games. It's just some short content, and I did a 90-minute long sort of documentary style retrospective on the first Space Marine game before the second Space Marine 2 came out. That is kind of a passion project of mine, but my hope is that it becomes kind of like an integral part of sort of my content creation. I'm working on a second video for that channel, a second long form video that will discuss one of the first Warhammer video games ever made. I actually sat down with one of the lead designers on that game. We had a long interview, so it's going to include that. It's going to be probably 1 to 2 hours long.
You're going to release it on YouTube?
Yeah, it all goes up on YouTube. So yeah, it's youtube.com / @Tactical Tyrannosaurus. Yeah, that's my big project right now. And that's been extremely fun to do. A lot of sort of high effort editing and stuff going into those. So that has been a huge undertaking. But I'm very excited to make it like sort of an ongoing series and a repeat process. We're basically gonna track the evolution of Warhammer as like a digital franchise, and then I also do a lot of discussion about Warhammer and miniature gaming historically and how it ties into like these kind of at this point essentially like historic archival pieces of digital media, which is very cool. It's cool to see the evolution of different miniatures and design trends within Warhammer and miniature gaming as reflected in a digital medium, which has been super fun to kind of delve into. So that's the big one for me. Tactical Tyrannosaurus is my second channel, but also obviously hit me up at youtube.com/Tactical Tortoise. That's where most of my videos and content creation goes. I will be live streaming events, as I mentioned before, several times over the next couple of months. So there will be 40K live streams up there, obviously ongoing regular 40K content. And I do a couple of regular live stream shows on Mondays and Tuesdays as well. And then twitch.tv/Tactical Tortoise TV is my Twitch channel. And that's where I stream mostly online Warhammer content. So I'll do tabletop simulator events. I both play Tabletop Simulator very regularly and live cover competitive event finals and things like that. So I'll hop in the room with the players and do commentary while they're playing. That's super fun. And I also, in my Discord server, which you can find links to at all those channels, I run competitive events, usually 1 to 2 per week. So right now we have, I think, like 11 ongoing simultaneously.
And you said those are mostly or all TTS?
Yeah, that's all Tabletop Simulator. Yeah, for Warhammer 40K. So yeah, that's what's going on for me.
There's a question that escaped my small brain a second ago, but it was, have you ever been envious of the painting YouTubers, the ones that like have like a lot of like their shtick is like, painting with the camera, like, Miniac and all those folks are
painting YouTubers. Well,
I feel like they have more of a visual thing to work with.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think like every style of YouTube, every style of miniature adjacent content creation has its own strengths and weaknesses. Painting is definitely popular, but there's like a level of kind of creative. You have to be really good at it.
To be really good, yeah.
So, I think that I definitely feel like I provide a value to the community, right? Given that just the fact that I play competitive 40K a lot, and I have a lot of experience both with playing 40K and other games that I can bring together to sort of create content and commentary about the gameplay of the game. The amount of time you have to dedicate to become sort of this master, sort of golden demon level. Painter and also instructor, which is another important part of a lot of those videos. You have to also be good at explaining to people how to paint these miniatures. So there's like another kind of, it's an entirely different skill set that I have not spent time. Getting better at. So I don't know if I'm envious of them as much as I understand that that's their niche and I have a different one. If those people wanted to talk about, playing Chaos Demons competitively, they would probably crash and burn just as much as I would if I was trying to tell people how to paint a Golden Demon level miniature. But I think the The other thing is what's very popular is painting live streams. And that is a skill set this is an entirely different skill set, because in addition to tutorializing your painting, you also have to be very entertaining for a very long time while you're doing that. And that is, unfortunately, I think
those are like
not only a skill that I have not cultivated, but also one that may just elude me. Is essentially talking to no one
how to do that.
For like 4 hours while painting a miniature with a camera in your face the whole time. I don't know if I would be able to do that. So yeah, kudos to all the people who are very successful painting streamers. I at one point was making a big push to make Twitch partner. And I think that I understand now. It's very deleterious to the rest of my content. And unfortunately, the system, this is kind of in the weeds a little bit, but the system that Twitch determines partnerships by is very stupid, because it's based on average concurrent viewers, which means that if you are ever streaming to below your average concurrent viewership, you are incentivized to immediately deactivate the stream, because you will lower your average concurrent viewership. Yeah. So as long as you're streaming like the minimum hour, like monthly hours, which is like 20 or something, 25 per month, and if at any point during that 25 hours, as long as you're hitting that cap, you are dropping below your normal viewership, then you should not be streaming. And I was totally not gonna interface with that. So yeah, I gave up on that. I think that competitive 40K has a very niche audience as a stream. I think that it's very difficult to find a big audience to do that, but I do think that it is kind of a tight-knit community, and there are a lot of people interested in it. I definitely I understand that it's not going to ever have as wide of an appeal as video games or even painting.
Yeah, it's like what is it, like the river that's narrow but very like deep. It's
right,
like
right,
kind of
exactly.
Like, you're not quite reaching out there.
And I'm honestly like insanely thankful for the Twitch community that I have, because I think it's super fun. We have an insane fun time over on Twitch.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, and it was a joy. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we'll see you on the next one.